On the planet Caltheron, beauty was law, not written in stone or encoded into planetary constitutions, but enforced just the same. The Varelians were a species sculpted by evolution and arrogance. Tall, bioluminescent, symmetrical to impossible degrees. Their skin shimmered in gradients of silver and violet, their eyes like twin galaxies trapped beneath crystalline membranes. Their voices harmonized even in casual speech. They were perfection made flesh. And in their society, anything less was offensive. Her name was Lasara. She had been born under a dim star alignment, a superstition among the Varelians. Her skin bore uneven patterns of light. One of her ocular ridges had formed lower than the other. Her height was beneath the noble standard. Her luminescence flickered instead of glowing steadily. To humans, she might have appeared ethereal. To her own kind, she was flawed. Ugly. They never said it directly in the high court chambers. They didn't need to. They looked through her, around her, past her. When she walked through the hall of reflection, conversations dimmed. When she entered diplomatic chambers, advisors adjusted their posture as though her presence wrinkled the air. She was the daughter of High Chancellor Veiltorin, and she was a liability. Caltheron stood on the brink of a historic alliance. Humanity, young, resilient, unpredictable humanity, had reached their borders. After decades of cautious observation, talks had begun. An interstellar union. A political marriage. The Varelian High Council required perfection for such a union. They required Princess Elindra. But Elindra refused. She would not bind herself to what she called a primitive oxygen breather. And so the High Chancellor made a decision. A desperate one. He would offer Lasara instead. No one protested. After all, if the humans rejected her, nothing would be lost. The arrival of the human. Commander Adrian Vale did not look impressed when he arrived. The human's vessel, the Horizon Crest, settled over Caltheron like a steel scar against the sky. It lacked elegance. It lacked bioluminescence. It was built for survival. Adrian Vale stepped onto Varelian soil in a formal black uniform edged with silver earth insignia. His hair was dark, slightly unkempt despite protocol. His expression was steady. He did not stare at the architecture. He did not gasp at the luminous towers. He looked directly at the High Chancellor. And then, he saw her. Lasara stood half a step behind her father, shoulders squared, but eyes lowered. Adrian's gaze paused. Not in revulsion. Not in confusion. But in curiosity. The High Chancellor began the rehearsed speech. Of alliance. Of shared prosperity. Of uniting two species through sacred matrimonial bond. And, Veiltorin concluded, voice smooth as crystal wind, we present Princess Lasara. A silence followed. The chamber lights shifted slightly, amplifying Lasara's uneven glow. Adrian stepped forward. Lasara braced herself. Humans were expressive. She had studied their microreactions. The subtle tightening around the mouth. The narrowing of eyes. She waited for it. Instead, he asked quietly, "May I speak with her alone?" Murmurs rippled across the chamber. It was irregular, but Veiltorin agreed. They led Adrian and Lasara into a private observation balcony overlooking Caltheron's shimmering horizon. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Adrian said something no Varelian had ever said to her. "You don't look comfortable being displayed like that." Lasara blinked. Her voice was careful. "It is customary." "It's wrong," he replied evenly. She studied him. "You are aware," she said slowly, "that I was not the intended candidate." He smiled faintly.
"Yeah,
I figured." "And yet you did not decline immediately." Adrian stepped closer, not invading, not asserting. Observing. "Back on Earth," he said, We learn something the hard way. The people who don't fit the mold, they're usually the ones strong enough to break it. Her uneven luminescence flickered brighter. Do you find me acceptable? She asked, the word tasting bitter. He looked at her directly. I find you real. No one had ever used that word for her. Real. And in that moment, something shifted. Middle, the proposal that shocked the galaxy. Negotiations resumed. The High Council expected hesitation, perhaps polite refusal. Instead, Adrian addressed the chamber. Earth accepts the union. Shock fractured the room, but he wasn't finished. I request one addition to the ceremonial contract. Vale Torin narrowed his eyes. State it. Adrian turned. He faced Lasara not as an object of alliance, but as a person. In human tradition, he said clearly, voice echoing through the crystalline chamber, marriage is not ownership. It is partnership. He extended his hand toward her. I would not claim Princess Lasara as diplomatic exchange. He inhaled once. I ask her to choose me. Gasps. Whispers. Scandal. Varelian marriages were strategic arrangements, not emotional contracts. Lasara's heart pounded in a rhythm she had only read about in human physiology reports. Choose. No one had ever offered her that. Her father's expression tightened, calculating, furious beneath the surface. You misunderstand, Vale Torin began. Adrian didn't look at him. He kept his eyes on Lasara. Well, he asked gently. She could say no. She could walk away. She could remain the unwanted daughter. Or she could step into something unknown. Her luminescence flared. Unstable. Brilliant. I choose, she said, voice trembling but strong. The one who sees me. Silence fell like gravity. Adrian's fingers closed around hers. And in that instant, the galaxy changed. The backlash. The Union ignited political firestorms. Varelian elites called it humiliation. A concession beneath their dignity. Human media exploded with fascination. The alien princess, who defied her world's beauty hierarchy. But beneath spectacle, something deeper was happening. Lasara moved to Earth for a season as part of the diplomatic exchange. And Earth did something Kale Theron never had. It welcomed her. Children stared, yes, but with wonder. Scientists asked questions with respect. Artists painted her flickering luminescence as abstract brilliance rather than flaw. For the first time in her life, she walked through crowds without feeling like an error. Adrian stood beside her, not as savior, but as equal. They learned each other's languages, argued about music, shared stories under open earth skies where stars did not shimmer artificially, but burned fiercely. And somewhere in that ordinary humanity, she began to glow steadily. Not because her biology changed, but because her shame did. The threat from within. Back on Kale Theron, resentment festered. Elindra and several High Council members saw opportunity in outrage. If Lasara's marriage destabilized public faith in Varelian superiority, then removing her could restore order. An assassination plot formed. Not against Adrian. Against Lasara. She was the symbol. And symbols could be erased. The attack came during the Night of Convergence, a ceremony broadcast across systems celebrating the formal Interstellar alliance. Lasara stood beside Adrian on a floating dais above Earth's capital city. Lights shimmered. Crowds cheered. And from orbit, a Varelian stealth cruiser decloaked. Adrian saw it first. His military instincts ignited. He pulled Lasara down as plasma fire split the sky. Panic erupted. Human defense grids activated. Earth vessels launched. But the cruiser's targeting system locked onto one biosignature. Lasara's. She stared upward as the weapon charged, a beam designed to disintegrate without residue. Erase the embarrassment. Adrian gripped her face, forcing her to look at him. Trust me, he said. He opened a private channel. To Cale Theron. To the High Council. His voice broadcast across both worlds. You taught her she was lesser. His hand tightened around hers. You called her ugly. The cruiser's weapon blazed brighter. Adrian's voice hardened. I call her my wife. And in a move no one predicted, he transmitted classified Earth defense protocols to Lysara's neural interface. Access codes. Fleet control. Power beyond any Varelian princess had ever been granted. Show them, he whispered. Her luminescence surged. Not flickering. Blazing. She reached out digitally and physically. And she took control of the attacking cruiser. Gasps echoed across Cale Theron's high court as their own warship responded to her command. She did not destroy it. She disabled it and broadcast her voice. I was never your shame, she said, steady and radiant. You were mine. The crowd on Earth fell silent. I am Lysara of Cale Theron, daughter of Vale Torin, wife of Adrian Vale. Her glow outshone the city lights. And I will not be erased. The cruiser powered down. The assassination attempt ended. But something far larger had begun. Ending. The night the galaxy shifted, the fallout reshaped everything. Elindra and the conspirators were stripped of authority. Vale Torin, confronted with his daughter's strength and the unity of two civilizations behind her, resigned. Cale Theron citizens began questioning old doctrines. Why had symmetry equaled worth? Why had flickering light been considered failure? Humanity, meanwhile, witnessed something profound. Love had not weakened diplomacy. It had fortified it. Lysara returned to Cale Theron, not as rejected daughter, but as ambassador of a new era. When she walked through the Hall of Reflection this time, no one looked away. Children mimicked her uneven glow proudly. Designers began incorporating asymmetry into architecture. Artists celebrated variance. And on the anniversary of the assassination attempt, a new holiday was declared across both civilizations. The Night of Choosing. Not to commemorate violence, but to honor agency.
Choice.
Adrian stood beside her on the palace balcony 1 year later. Regret it, he asked quietly. She looked over her world, no longer cold and judging, but shifting, evolving. No, she said. Her luminescence shimmered, beautiful not because it was perfect, but because it was hers. They called me ugly, she whispered. Adrian brushed his forehead against hers in human intimacy. I called you wife. And beneath twin suns and distant Earth stars, the galaxy, watching, understood something it never had before. Perfection does not change civilizations. Courage does. And that night, when one man chose to see what others refused to, the galaxy learned to see differently too.